What up, Hup? And everybody else watching. Emaiw versus Steven, Game 2. Let's see what happens. Our Pumpkin Terran is in the bottom left of Catalyst. I'm at by Veek7. Steven in the top right is... Ooh, is he Glacial? He is. He's our Glacial Protoss in the top right. Alright, so the last game went to Solarians. Emaiw could not cut it. Honestly, there were some brilliant flanking maneuvers that Steven underwent. I feel a little bit shoddy about my observing there, my witnessing. As a stockade coming down. Okay, that's an interesting choice by Emaiw. We'll watch that for a little bit here. Yeah, I feel like I could have probably shown the pre-battle situations a bit more. I was too busy talking about how you can donate on coffee if you want to support development. I really shouldn't talk about that in the middle of casts because maybe people will think that I like money. And, you know, that would be awful. But hey, I guess while I'm here talking about this, I do like money. Gateway on the way for Steven. It looks like we will go to bio. Now, the question is whether or not Steven knows the call and response there. Grand Library ends up being a little bit more effective. I feel like, and I'm open to being wrong about this, but I feel like Lattice play versus bio is not impossible. I know that Harassment kind of repel the idle attack from the Protoss idle, the double tap that they do because of the armor situation, but I do wonder if maybe you mix in enough manifolds there after a certain point, and you actually just start chewing through the front line. Anyway, I'm open to suggestions there. I do think that if you go into mass lattice, it is probably a bit vulnerable to going into like one Fulk Palladium for a few Phalanx and a Madrigal, and it kind of dissuades everything else from happening. But up until that point, it might be an interesting thing. So the question really would be, does it scale? Can you incorporate those units later on into a comp? Or is its Grand Library just superior because you can kind of fight mech with it better than you can fight mech with Lattice? So that's another valid thing to think about. But hey, this Harassment is going to wander across. It's very quick. There is still going to be a Hierophant that finishes. And so now we're going to have to see... Oh, hello, sir. Would you please let me in? Ahmed waddles futilely as he is slowed by the Hierophant. When he's red, that means that he is going to attack a little bit less swiftly than he would normally. And then, of course, you also get the added benefit of the Hierophant laughing at you or saying something. So it's a fast expansion build out of Emaiw yet again. This one does feel a little bit faster than his mech build, but I wasn't paying too close attention to the start time of it, so I can't confirm that 100%. I do love that Steven is going to respond with his own Nexus. Obviously, his scribe goes deep enough to see this ministry was already started when it died, and of course, there's an anchor on the way, so he's probably not going to be able to get too much damage dealt in this super early game. But, you know, that's still an opportunity here for Emaiw to change our minds about his play. Since he has dropped a game, he's the underdog now all of a sudden. No, not quite. But, hey, still pretty good. That last game was interesting. The Hierophant is not doing its best to dodge all of those shots from the Cyprians. They can be pretty tricky. I remember the era when you could fit 4 Cyprians in an anchor instead of only 2. Golly gee willikers. That was some tough stuff. Grand Library on the way here for Steven. And it looks like these Dracodons are actually going to earmark themselves for a potential drop. And Emaiw is making a star pad. I feel like Steven just brings a certain level of baseline awareness to, like, something that I feel like trips a lot of people up if they come from Starcraft 1, right? Is that it does take a little bit before drops can happen, and it is a little bit faster in terms of the timing for Cosmonarchy. However, if you get it super fast, you are super brittle. So it does feel like the closer you get it to the beginning of the game, the sooner you get it as far as drop access goes, with the exception of Zerg to some degree. This still does weaken you because the Ovaleth isn't exactly cheap. But essentially what I'm getting at is I feel like when you drop as Terran or as Protoss and it's super early into the game, you had to cut corners to do that in the military in a way that you... Like, the drop timing, especially versus Terran, just happens way later in StarCraft 1. Whereas in StarCraft 2, there do exist builds that are 1-1-1s that hit way faster because of the pace of the game. And I wonder if stuff like that doesn't play to Steven's credit here, where he just knows that, like, okay, it's like 4 minutes into the game, my opponent hasn't really showed me his inside his base, I'm going to keep 2 Dracodons back here, just like I might keep 2 Adepts or Stalkers or a Patrolling Oracle or whatever the hell those crazy kids in StarCraft 2 play. Those kinds of things, you know? And hey, we do have a Trojan on the way, so it's not a bad call. It's just those little things that I like to think about is, you know, how are people handling things when it comes to emerging from a different RTS game and bringing their translatable skills over to Cosmonarchy. Which skills are helping them? Which skills are a hindrance? Won't be able to scoop up that Savant. He wants to grab him. Oh, he actually traded out for a Maverick instead. Interesting. You know, the transport space of the Savant should definitely be 2. And it looks like he did want to... He's like, wait, please. I must try to go with you. Oh, is he actually going to walk out? He is. A bold choice from Emaiw64. And he will be jumped upon. I don't think that man's getting it out of here alive. That is... Ah, you even laughed at him. You laughed at him as he died. Well, Steven is definitely going to deserve this drop. However, he's already earmarked for it. Third base about a third of the way complete. Get that? That's 2 threes. 2/3. Now, this army actually, inside this Trojan, can and maybe will do some good damage here, despite the fact that it was preempted. The Trojans are... Okay, the Trojan is earmarked for death, apparently. The Dracoden really wanted to clear that. But now, he's not really going to be able to kill all of the bio units here super easily. He's making a 3rd Cantavus. Whoa, is this Grand Library actually going to die? Never mind. It's all fine, ladies and gentlemen. It's all fine. All right. So a couple of workers did end up going down. I think it was only 1 or 2. I actually can't see any of the corpses. Maybe... I was going to say maybe they died behind the mineral field, but no, maybe all of the scribes lived, actually. That's pretty surprising. I feel like there's no way that that could be true. Maybe one of the corpses is hiding behind the Grand Library. Third base is being started by Emaiw64 in his main. He'll lift it off. And oh, no, it's actually in his natural. Look at that. I just guessed. I didn't even look at the minimap, guys. I'm going to be honest. But a bunch of Draconins standing guard behind the natural of Steven. And a bunch of them still kind of cycling and rotating around the main. He's going to withdraw and see if he can concentrate his forces, because you don't want to leave too many on anti-drop duty and then die to a frontal push, obviously. And this is before an embassy is up, so he has no detection. No real forward warning of when this Terran army is going to move across the map. Let's see. We've got the Covenant coming online here. And there is going to be a little bit of an army engagement. One Zealot is sacrificed for the information. Bunch of workers over there at the third base. And, you know, these Cantavuses are potentially quite deadly. They're also kind of hanging out downtown. So let's see what the spellcaster use is. Oh, the stim jumps on straight on one of those Cantavus. But the other stays alive, and the Storm did channel a little bit onto some of those other units. With no front line left, though, Steven is potentially going to suffer here. Only one of his Cantavus was even storming. Yeah, that's going to be a pretty big capitulation on the spellcaster front. A couple of Eidolons did end up sniping some of them. Which, there's no actual snipe ability, but snipe is just like a general term now, which I think is good. You know, I think about this too, because obviously people think of the Fulcrum, which we don't actually see in this game, but the factory graphic, right? They think of that unit as the Fulcrum, or rather they think of it as the factory. Just like they think of the gas cap for Terran that goes in the geyser as a refinery. But those are general terms that kind of describe the purpose of it, you know? Like, if you didn't want to say extractor or assimilator, you would just say, oh yeah, he built a refinery on his geyser. But that would actually mean a unit. And so by making it named more specific things, we unlock more precision in our tool set. Because now I can tell you that the Eidolons sniped the Cantavus because they picked them apart specifically. And I can tell you that the gas cap or the factory count is very high without meaning a specific unit. Anyway, we can also talk about the fact that, oh my god, I thought for a second that the Terran army was just going to run roughshod over this, but they weren't quite able to finish that Cantavus off. So instead, there's a lot of corpses. Psionic Corpse Storm. I do wonder if maybe Storm shouldn't do some kind of corpse mechanic now that I'm thinking about it. Maybe that's like a cool idea for a factional Cantavus, that it doesn't have the... There's something else about it that it doesn't have, but it also has, like, you know, there's a trade-off, right? So it does something different, and it also storms the corpses to consume them to deal some kind of splash damage. And maybe it's like an unsafe splash thing that damages everybody in the radius. Could be kind of sick, honestly. And then, of course, you'd have, like, the Order of the Sacred Saber Cantavus that has the Psionic Storm that heals shields, like in the Legacy of the Void campaign. That still cracks me up every time. Not bad positioning for the Cantavus, definitely avoiding potential run-ups. Eventually, we might actually see Terran players use their Eidolons as like an actual sniper squad, since they are cloaked. But as of right now, it looks like this army has been preempted. The Huracan count is very, very high. And look at that. The Cantavis dies without even getting a storm off, it looks like. We don't have any others coming in either. So this is a lot of Huracans and a lot of Eidolons still alive in the back. Yeah, we've got like 14 Eidolons here. Hard for Steven to see with no detection. And of course, that's despite the fact that he didn't actually... He doesn't have to worry about detection, counter detection from Aoud. He sniped the only ant seal he had, and he's not rebuilt it. It is mass stockade. Mass stockade. We got 10 of them. Or 11 of them. Pumping out Huracan Eidolon, maybe a couple of clerics here and there as well. The ratio of add-ons is really interesting, too. Only 1 Vestry and 4 Covenants, and he'll probably add some more with his 3rd base coming online, his 4th base being made on location, such as his level of map control, and Aoud is pushing forward, grinding through what Steven has. Actually, is he going to be able to even hold this back? He dives forward with his Dracodons, but the Eidolon count is so powerful. He picks off some of the Savants that are doing quite a bit of damage, but the Cleric count feels too powerful. It doesn't look like the Dracodons are going to be able to hold this off. Okay, he's got an Acantor. Maybe that can be his little saving grace here. It's getting blocked by some of the workers that are being transferred over to Huracans. Do you catch that Scarab, or Plasma Shell as it's now called? The problem is that one Acantor is going to be ranged down by all of the Eidolons, and really, there was no hope for Steven to be able to focus down that one. He's making double Cantavis now with 3 Grand Libraries, or 4 of them actually, producing 2 Cantavis at once. Now, the Atlas is on the way for Tier 2 here. Mr. Aoud is on a 4th base. Now, we can say the same about Steven. His eco has actually been unperturbed during all of this. So there's no assailing, no harassment on either side of the aisle. The question is whether Steven himself will be able to put forth a significant kind of resistance. Now, I do think that he's done well on his macro cycles. He hasn't really slipped in that regard. He even has like 1 Dracodon that's still guarding things. Unfortunately for him, he is about to have a rude awakening, as I believe Aoud is going to spot that base on the top left. Maybe he kind of sniffs this out like, oh, you've got more units than maybe you should. You must have another base somewhere. And so, no, I'm not sure if he thought that, but that's absolutely going to be a thing. Now we'll see if maybe Aoud ends up sparing any of these scribes so that the base can be repaired more easily. Oh, look at that. What happened there? Aoud actually decides to pull away. He'll leave like 1 Huracan there or something and to attack it, and that feels so bizarre to me. Now, an Acantor is going to get 1 shot off. Only splashes a couple of the Eidolons, though, not actually going to execute. Needed to get another shot off, and that's a big pickup there. Prostration stage not warped in yet. Where is the reaction from Steven? There we go. A couple of storms. He's going to guide them further back. None of these Acantors die. Okay, never mind. A couple of them are going to pop. This is at the same time as the 3rd base is threatened. This might be a little bit of a base race scenario here, because I really don't see how Aoud's going to make it across the map in time to save this base. He's got a lot of units to slow it down, though. It's not game-ending damage. He's going to dive into the natural here, and now he's going to start to really hurt the army production and the economy here. This 1 Huracan never got killed by those workers as well. He's got so many kills. This man has executed so many workers, 11 of them. He stands undivided, impressive. And now there's a lot of static defense happening right at the top of the ramp there, as Cantavises are attempting to keep themselves alive. Another Acantor brewing inside that Ardent Authority. But, I don't know, man, when you've lost your natural, and you've lost all the workers in the top left, sure, you can have your consolation prizes, but now your forward base, even though you've killed a 3rd base, you haven't stopped this 4th from operating, and your reinforcements, your attack squad there, they are going to get cleaned up. There's 4 Cantavis to try to storm things down. The Crucible is no longer with us. That's going to be a lot of storms at the very least. He can try to do his best there to make things happen. He's actually doing quite a bit of damage with it must be said. That Savant also going to go and hit the deck. But realistically speaking, he doesn't have any mining happening at a 4th base. He set up a 5th, but he's lost his natural. He's got a depleted main base with not very many workers. I guess he can transfer a lot of these scribes down here to the sort of 3 o'clock position. I don't know. It's kind of curious. That base on the top left is a little bit of a gamble because it's so out of pocket for you to actually defend. So where do you take a natural 4th? Probably this position, actually. But as the worker transfer does end up getting caught by more reinforcements of Aoud, that might be like the worst place that Aoud could have attacked, right? And of course he does, because he's a champ. Storms are going to come out and try to push back this advancing Terran blob of bio, but not before they kill the Nexus. So It's a Pyrrhic victory, if it's a victory at all. The one Huracan still doing its damage in the top left as well. Now preemptively casting because he doesn't actually have vision up that ramp, so very, very dastardly times. What does he want to try to do from this position? It's looking pretty dire to me. Steven's holding on, clawing for life, as a single Legionnaire has found a few kills in this base. Very cute, very clever. Honestly, some of the Eidolons could just park right here and try to kill him, which is really funny to me, but that's more APM than it's probably worth. Big storm on the ramp exit. That's actually going to clear a lot of the bio out. Very, very good there, actually. Only one Savant left. That'll be taken care of. No problem at all. Well, there's a 5th base coming online here for Aeud64. And this is actually uncharacteristically sloppy of Aeud to still have that guy dead for, killing so many for so long. It's a tale of champions. Which one gets more kills? It was, spoiler, it was the one hero Huracan with 12 kills, including the Nexus. God damn. What a legend. All right, Crucible is being rebuilt. Try to get those Cantors out faster. I gotta say, you need some pylons, right? I know he's made 2 over here. You probably want some more pylons if you're Steven. I feel like that really hurts him, right? He lost not just his natural Nexus, but also a Grand Library, 2 gateways. That's a lot of his production, dude. He doesn't actually have that much. And now with no pylon, he can't actually build another Ardent that's going to be enchanted by the Crucible. So definitely taking some licks here. Let's take a stock of the actual base count, right? We've only got like a small handful of workers over there. That makes sense. Kind of similar for the natural. A lot of them end up getting cycled over to resaturate the 3rd base, the 4th base. Collectively, I don't know what I just witnessed the end of there, but I guess they probably like went up here after going around the geyser or whatever. Yeah, it's kind of weird because our players aren't that far separated in terms of economies. Aeud is definitely in the lead, by the way. But like, it's actually surprising to me how that Legionnaire may have given Steven a lifeline to extend play. Now, when this next attack comes in, especially as Apostles are now part of the army, I mean, Steven would need to hit the Storms of the Century in order to make this happen. And he's not getting off to a good start with one of his Cantavises going down immediately. There's the concentrated Storms. They're trying to do their best over here. He's going to force them back, but, oh, he's right on top of the Eidolons. That would have been humongous if he could have kept his Cantavises alive. Unfortunately, though, as his last units fall, he's down to having 3 military units left alive. GG must be called. And look at that. Aeud does punch back. He had to work for it, but I think it's safe to say in the last maybe 3 to 5 minutes of that game, it kind of felt like the writing was on the wall all along the bathroom stall. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Aeud versus Steven, a nice little 2-game set for you. We're probably going to revisit Nebelheim, actually, in the coming series, but stay tuned, because there's always more Cosmonarchy. And that means you should join our Discord server, keep apprised of the latest developments for the project. You can send us some cash money if you so desire. I don't think I talked about that yet in this episode, so good to get it in at the end. And subscribe to this YouTube channel, dude. We got videos all the time. Peace.